everyone, my name is Bahanur Nasya from Wonderland, and I'm very happy to have a new webinar for fair mobility. And today I have Konstantina from Spain. Konstantina, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, Bahanur. Hello, everyone. I'm here today to introduce Estel Cooperative and our participation in the Divercity project. And Estel is a cooperative of mostly architects and urbanists. We work to improve people's everyday life in cities through what we call cooperative urbanism.
Wonderful. In fair mobility, we are looking at mobility at the peri-urban area and rural, and try to rethink with the people mobility options. And especially we are looking on the mobility patterns and needs of women, gender minorities, which is then obviously linked to all the people who are kind of like the care receivers, like minors, children, but also elderly. So in a way, it's kind of like looking at the society from a different angle, like we are used in urban planning. How is your perspective in the cooperative, and how is are the things evolving in Spain?
Okay, so the gender perspective is a thing here. I mean, you can find it in administrations. I mean, it's a sensibility. It's something that occurred, and it has force, and it has people who study the topic. The governments are trying to apply it, are trying to protect it. So that creates the opportunity for us as architects, as urbanists, to include it in our approach in the way that we are doing cities, no? From our side, we don't believe that cities should be designed from above, for the abstract users. For us, we believe that we should co-create them, who live there, especially those whose voices are often left out. No, and you talked about peri-urban, rural areas, etc. So we believe that these areas, they need more resources, no, more knowledge, budget, etc., in order to apply all these tools, no, all this knowledge in these areas.
What are specific needs which you encounter or which you try to feed with your projects in your region, especially?
So we work mostly in public spaces. I mean, the everyday experience, not how we live a public space, from the design to the management, etc., etc. But it's not just the public space as a square, etc. It's more how we move, how we use the public space, how we use the city, how we live the city. No? In our case, from projects that we worked on, we have seen that rural areas, for example, they have needs regarding mobility, because they don't have a public transportation, or maybe they do, but they don't have frequency, so they have a high dependency on cars, for example. No, and that comes with consequences. No, for example, children, they don't have the autonomy, no, to go from their house to school, or how they live their neighborhood, their village, etc., etc. So it's something that it's there, and it needs a solution.
And how do you do this co-creation, or what is your approach, or how do you ensure that you said the voices which are not heard, how do you listen to those voices?
Actually, here we say that we are not doing citizen participation, we are doing citizen cooperation. It's changing a bit the hierarchy, because participation comes with a power, no, the power relation. The government chooses how to apply the budget, and they are asking people on how they should do it. No, so with cooperation, we're trying to put it in more horizontal way. No, where we share the same seats on the same table, and from there you can find the needs directly, and then use the budget accordingly. No, so we're trying to change a bit the power relation from there. And yeah, we don't just consult people. We believe that they are the key decision makers in shaping our cities, whether through cooperative processes, workshops, participatory budgets. We're trying to create safe spaces where community can imagine, decide, and act together.
And how do you ensure, because we all have our experiences, and as educated planners, obviously we have access to good examples and we can envision change. But for regular citizens, which do probably not have the same access to better examples and also are maybe not trained in envisioning, how do you uh, make sure that they have the imagination, the vision to rethink what is currently the case? Let's say it's a plaza or it's a train station. How can you bring them on board on the same level, even though they don't have the same experience or education?
Giving them the tools. I mean, as architects, we have useful tools, no, to make people imagine, like maps or modeling, or just going out for a walk, no, with them and listen. I mean, this is the most powerful tool that we have. Listen to people, no,
Mm-hmm.
and understand their needs and their worries, because when we're trying to change something in the city, in their neighborhood, it's, I mean, we should ask them, no,
Yeah.
because it affects their routines, their everyday life. So I think the most important tool that we have is to listen, and from there start doing things with them, no, make this give them the support
Mm-hmm.
through this process, either through workshops, for example, walks
Mm-hmm.
with them, mappings,
Mm-hmm.
and depending also on the collective and on the specific needs, either for language, mobility, capacities in general. We're trying to adapt the tools to this. And yes, we are using the PAR methodology, participation, action, research,
Mm-hmm.
which means that we have the moment, no, for the participation, the moment for the action, and in the meanwhile we are doing the research as professionals, no.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to put everything together in this process.
Mm-hmm. Are there
Um,
specific things which you would like to highlight? What is maybe same or different in Spain than other places in Europe in terms of needs?
in terms of needs, um, I will say that, for example, um, the okay, how public spaces are designed right now. I mean, okay, we're trying to change them, but it didn't. They don't have as in the center the people who use them.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the design,
Mm-hmm.
no, mostly, but not about the way that we are using the public space as caregivers, for example, or as people who are receiving the care tasks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's quite important to rethink how we design these public spaces, because I mean, for children are the first public space they get to know, no, and the first place where they recognize themselves are citizens, and they interact with other people. So we believe that we are not just designing public spaces, we are not just designing cities, we are making societies, no, on
Mm-hmm.
how we how this public space, it's the core, no, of how
Mm-hmm.
we understand ourselves as citizens in the city. So if we don't see ourselves reflected on the design of the public space, on the needs that we have, it's like I mean, it's normal, no? We feel neglected as citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to highlight that and make people part of the procedure, of the design procedure, and understand, I don't know, who feels welcome in this public space, who doesn't, what needs to change, and make this the inclusion, the accessibility, and the care center approach and basic element, not to guide our designs.
You mentioned already the one project, Divercity. Would you like to give us some more insights on that? How do you approach it, or what are you trying to achieve, or in which context are you working?
Yeah, of course. Could I share a
Of
screen?
course, of course. You can share. You should have the permission to share screen.
Let's see. Yes, can you see
Ah,
it?
wonderful. Yeah.
Great. So the Diversity project was a European project that we are really proud to be part of. It started in 2022 and it ended in 2024, a year ago. That was an Erasmus small-scale project between Spain, Belgium, Germany, and Greece.
Mhm.
And our goal was to rethink the city through the eyes of young people, especially young women and marginalized communities. And that was a way to explore how public spaces could be more inclusive, more participatory, and more attentive to care and everyday needs. Why talking about gender in urban planning? As I said before, cities are not neutral, no?
Yeah,
They
true.
reflect power dynamics, who designs them, who use them, no? Who is not using them. And we know that until recently, public spaces were designed by and for a very specific profile, no? Usually adult, male, able-bodied, and middle class. Okay, so we're trying to change that, no? Because we have seen during these years that we left behind many people, no? Those who care for others, people who are avoiding places out of fear or because they feel that they don't fit and dominant norms, no?
Mhm.
So the gender perspective allows us to ask who's excluded, who is invisible, who decides, no? What is going to happen there.
Konstantina, may I ask, because you have been operating in this project in 4 different countries, if you experience any differences? Because we feel like already in our collaboration between France and Austria, there are big differences, even though fear in public space exists in both cultures. In Austria, it's more or less connected to overconsumption of alcohol, so that women, gender minorities, or minors avoid certain places where there might be drunk people, there might be party kind situations and so on. It's not the same like big cities like Paris, where you see and hear violence on, where you have to report on violence and so on. And since you are in Spain, Greece, and Germany, and I forgot the fourth country, I assume if there are also in your collaboration those differences.
Actually, actually, one of the goals of this project was to work with different target groups. Let's call them target groups. I don't like the word, but so, for example, in Spain, we worked with young women in rural areas. In Athens, they worked with young women in urban areas. In Athens, in Belgium, they worked with teenagers, girls in urban areas, and then in Erfurt in Germany, they worked with women with migrant background. So it was quite interesting to try the same methodologies, same tools, but with different target groups and different contexts and understand a bit what's going on. And for example, we have seen that the needs are quite different because, for example, in urban areas, the fear for the public space to be there in the night, etc., it's there. And if you go in a city in for example, Barcelona, you still have this fear. But in our case, in rural areas, we have seen that, for example, the community, it was quite strong. The women there, they didn't have the fear during the night because they knew that if I scream, someone will come out and try to help me. No? So that's something that we found out. But then, if we go to the rural areas, we'll see, as I said, problems about the autonomy of women. No,
Yeah.
the dependency on cars, and from there, the whole family structure, how it changes. So we have seen these details, no, in everyday life that they made us understand that we live in different realities, not so far, but they have their differences.
The shades are different. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
What do we see here with the domination, oppression, and privilege?
Yeah. So during this project, one of the things that we did with participants, it was to explore the intersectionality with them. And actually, that was one of the first activities that we did with them, to reflect on our own identities using the diagram of privilege and oppression from Morgan. And that was a powerful icebreaker, because it opened up a dialogue about who we are, what shapes our experience of the city, and what remains invisible. Because we started this project with people that had no idea about gender, no, and that helped us start the conversation. No, what made us be who we are right now, the fears that we have in the city, the limits, no, etc., etc. So with this diagram, this icebreaker, we explored how aspects like gender, age, class, migration background, or disability intersect, and how these intersections affect the way we move, the way we feel, and the way we act in public space. And it's quite interesting. You will find it in the manual as well. The thing is that, of course, this exercise helped us to understand that the city is not neutral. If we want to design inclusive spaces, we need to start from the realities of those most affected by inequality. And how we can do this, I mean, to build more just cities, we need to change how decisions are made. And through the diversity project, we try to promote the co-creation, not the top-down model, but one where people could work together to shape public spaces. This means trusting the knowledge of young people, of caregivers, and of those who experience exclusion. And in the project, the youth weren't just consulted, they were decision makers, even presenting proposals in real participatory budgeting processes in their municipalities after this project, which was quite interesting, because we had young people sitting in the same table with the mayors of their cities, explaining what the findings, no, from the diagnosis that they did in their cities. And then once the participatory budgeting process opened up, they presented proposals, and most, in the case of the city that we work, Solsona, citizens voted for these proposals, and now they are trying to execute them, which is amazing. I mean, you see how the diagnosis brought to proposals, and then to the execution of the work. So we're talking about how we're changing this model, not this power relation. And yeah, I mean, we talked a bit before about the gender perspective, no? We do understand that the care is not just something that happens at home. It's deeply connected to the city. I mean, I think about walking a child to a school, helping an elderly relative to go to the doctor, or simply taking a moment to rest in a park. These all are forms of care. And historically, care work has mostly fallen on women, and that shapes how they move through the city. And this is what we call the mobility of care, no? A term that helps us understand how daily travel patterns are tied to caregiving responsibilities. And cities that support care provide benches, accessible sidewalks, safe crossings, toilets, green spaces, the kind of infrastructure that make everyday life easier for everyone. And if we center in urban design, we start building cities that are more just, inclusive, and responsive to real life. And before, you talked about the fear, not the sense of fear in public space. And this is another layer, no? The emotional experience of space, especially fear, no? And as we have seen, many young women and gender diverse people restrict their movements in the city because of how they feel, not just what's physically there, but yes, in our workshops with participants, they share places that they avoid through mappings, not because there's no bench or poor lighting, but because of how unsafe they feel there. And fears isn't always about actual danger. It's also about who is visible, who is heard, and who feels like they belong there. So alongside improving lighting and our visibility, we also need to shift the message. No, you have the right to be there. You are not alone, and you belong to this place. And that's what diversity aims to nurture: a sense of confidence, safety, and ownership of public space. Actually, during the workshops, it was quite interesting because when participants started sharing experiences, you could hear like, it happened to me the same. No, I felt the same there. So it was quite interesting to see how creating a safe space of dialogue, no, made them feel like they belong there, that they are not crazy for feeling what they felt in this space, and sharing the experiences. It's quite interesting. So yes, after these workshops, we understand that each person lives the city differently, shaped by their gender, age, background, mobility, or responsibilities. So for us, including urban design starts with listening, really listening to these diverse voices. It means creating spaces that welcome different bodies, needs, and daily needs. And we believe that a city that embraces diversity doesn't just work better, it feels like home for more people. And to truly embrace diversity, we need to recognize the power of those often left out of these decision-making processes.
Mhm.
Yeah, like the young people, no? Because
Yeah.
too often youth are seen as not ready or still learning. But in diversity, we saw them not just as future citizens, but as present-day change makers. And of course, during the project, they brought fresh perspectives, creativity, and energy into everything, every step of the process, from analysis to the action. And when young people lead, we believe that cities become more inclusive, more just, and more connected to the real needs of today and tomorrow. So this project, and after this context, it couldn't happen, no, alone. None of this work could happen alone. Each organization in diversity brought their own superpowers to the table. For example, in our case, we brought everyday urbanism grounded in care and participation. URBANA from Greece brought the feminist urban planning and gender perspective. Urban Foxes from Belgium brought the youth empowerment through creative placemaking, and CGE from Erfurt, they brought their experience in community engagement. And together we form a team that could think like locally and act collectively, no? With exchanges of knowledge, of practices. And I believe that that was a key to the project success, that each one brought a different superpower. So how did we structure this collaboration? We followed the participatory action research approach, learning by doing and doing through dialogue. And the steps included building a toolbox of participatory methods with 20 tools, training youth workers in each country, running creative and inclusive local actions, and then finally co-writing a guidebook to share all what we learned. No? And each stage helped us connect theory with practice and ideas with action. Yeah, as I said before, what made the progress richer was working with different groups in each country with different realities and challenges. In Spain, we work with young women in rural areas, in Greece with young women in Athens, in Belgium with teenager girls in Brussels, and in Germany with young women from migrant background. And that diversity allowed us to see public space through multiple lenses, no? Urban, rural, cultural, and generational, and to learn from each other along the way. In total, we engaged over 400 participants across the 4 countries, which was quite impressive, even for us, because we didn't expect that. And in our case, we worked in Solsona, a small rural city. It's not a capital or a metropolis. It's a rural city in central Catalonia with less than 10,000 people, but with a vibrant youth and community open to change.
Is that still the metropolitan area of Barcelona or
No,
not? It's
it's not.
outside.
Yeah, it's in the central Catalonia. Yeah, actually working in a non-metropolitan area brought up important questions, no? For example, what does public space mean in a small town? What do a rural youth experience, fear, care, or exclude, no? What makes them feel excluded? And what possibilities exist for participation outside big cities? Because we know that in big cities you can find economical resources, no, to make participatory processes, etc., etc. But what happens in smaller cities with no budget? So these reflections made the work deeply rooted and relevant in that case. Yeah, so in Solsona, we collaborated with local educators, youth, and the municipality. And with our group of young women, we use different participatory tools to explore their realities, no? Like urban walks, mapping, safety mappings, storytelling, and co-creation of design proposals. And through this 6-month process, they identify keys issues like lighting, accessibility, and the lack of spaces of care.
Very practical, actually. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And then they translated them into actionable proposals. Some of them were voted by the community, sorry, and during the municipal participatory budgeting. And now they are on the way to being implemented. Yeah, so in Solsona, we collaborated with youth, local educators, and the municipality. And with our group of young women, we use participatory tools to explore their realities, no? Like urban walks, safety mappings, storytelling, and co-creation of design proposals. All these tools, you can find them into the guidebook. So during this 6 months process, they identified key issues like lighting, access, and lack of spaces of care. And then they translate them into actionable proposals, no? Which some of them were voted from the local community during the municipal participatory budgeting. So right now they're on the way to being implemented, which we are excited for. And
Well
yeah,
done.
and yeah, actually, with diversity, we were aiming for this kind of impact, no? Taking the imagination and transforming into something real. Yeah, so if you want to hear their voices directly, there's a video. I can share it with you, Bahanur.
Yeah, please.
So you can watch it
Mhm.
because they narrate the whole procedure, no, the whole process.
We will
Oh,
link this video with your webinar.
yeah, that would be amazing. So yes, all this work was happening across the 4 countries. We documented our experiences into this free open source guidebook. It's called Divercity, Youth for Gender Equal Cities. And this guidebook includes theoretical foundations, no, like the intersectionality and care urbanism and why it's important, reflections and stories from each city and participant, then 20 participatory tools tested in the real context in the 4 countries, and of course our collective vision for inclusive and caring cities, which is like our manifesto. And this guidebook is meant as a tool for others, like municipalities, collectives, schools, individuals, whoever who wants to start or deepen this kind of work, no, and topic. And yes, if you're curious to learn more, all the partners have published materials like materials, tools, stories on their websites and social media. And of course, we are always open to share, collaborate, and continue this collective journey of creating cities where everyone feels that he or she belongs there. And yes, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Konstantina. I really like your project a lot. It is for us enhancement of the European experience because we are working in Austria, Germany, France, and Romania, and you are kind of like. Of course, you have Germany as well. That's the most northern country at the moment. But you have cities, Mediterranean cities, and also Brussels. So it's a little bit enlargement on the perspective how Europe is dealing with space and how it's experienced by women, let's say young women in this case, which is a very specific perspective and especially um, important in my view. Of course, all youngsters are important because they are the future, but especially because of the caregiving function, they are kind of like a multiplier in a way because the very often they are the ones who define how the mobility or the experience for younger next generations will be. They are the ones very often to take care of elderly or people who need care because of any other sickness or temporary and so on. So it has this multiplier effect as well, your choice of target group. I would like to ask you a final experience or memory which where you felt like, oh, it's so good that we did this project.
Hmm. Um, Actually, in our case in Solsona, when we started talking in the first meeting, we asked, "Do you know what is gender perspective?" And just one out of seven people knew. So it was quite interesting
Yeah.
because in the end, after 6 months' work, they had to do. They chose to do an event, open this project to their neighbors, their community, and explain what they have done there, and it was powerful. I mean, to see these people who had no idea
Hmm.
that their experiences, how they felt in the public space, has a name,
Hmm.
and how they transferred this knowledge to other people who maybe talking about gender and feminism might be a bit of taboo,
Hmm.
especially in rural areas. But there you have seen that as it was coming out of mouths of people who knew, you could see the empathy. You could understand that they understand the words that
Yeah.
they were their mouth. So it was quite interesting to see this interaction and to see how it escalated. No,
Hmm.
started from a group of six people, and we found ourselves in front of I don't know, the half village during.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience. Yeah, this is also our experience in our pilot case or cases that as soon as you mention a certain target group like women, then you are stigmatized with feminism, which is per se nothing bad at all. It's not bad, but it's kind of like this fear of giving something up, which is not the objective of neither your project nor ours. It's just about improving for certain groups the services of the built environment, which is just not there, and actually which helps all the rest as well. It improves for everyone. It's not like you create
Exactly.
something and only women can use that. It's just like it works under these circumstances as well. And then the caregiver can be anyone, and it doesn't have to be a woman or gender minority or something. Thank you very much, Konstantina.
You're
Is there
welcome.
anything you would like to add or say as a final thing to our audience?
I would say that we need to change the mentality of doing things as policymakers, as architects, urban planners, even as individuals, and try to listen more the people that surround us and understand their needs before making decisions.
I can only sign that. There are, I don't know how many webinars out there where I started. We have to start with listening. And yeah, I can only sign that. Thank you very much for joining today, Konstantina. I hope you will have more projects like that. We need that kind of projects.
Hopefully.
And If any one of you want to reach out to Konstantina, we will share her contacts and more information on her, but also you can find her on social media. Thank you for joining us, Konstantina, but also all the viewers. And yeah, see you in a new webinar and hope to have a better, fairer future altogether. Bye.